Whoa, good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat. I so do appreciate you being here this morning, 6:20 a.m. Yes, we start somewhere around 6 to 6:20, somewhere around there in the morning. I've had a slow morning this morning, but we are going to hit a lot this morning, hit on a lot. We've got Eric Swalwell. He wants something done to the Trump Ballroom, and the Democrats, they are truly lost on this. I don't know why they've decided that this is the hill they want to die on. It's bizarre that they've said that, yes, out of everything, this is the most pressing issue. Donald Trump building a ballroom with private money, and former presidents like Barack Obama himself has used, what was it, $376 million to make renovations to the White House. This is nothing out of the ordinary or unprecedented. Presidents make renovations to the White House all the time. Eric Swalwell, we're going to get to him. And oh boy, this interviewer, and I was shocked by this because this is BBC, very liberal BBC. They nailed Kamala Harris on the Joe Biden cognitive decline question. So they asked her this question, like, did you know? Why didn't you talk to him about his fragile state? Did you have a conversation about him being able to have the energy to run in 2024? Did you have a conversation with him? And she had a terrible response. We're going to get to it. Not to mention, this is huge, and I don't think that a lot of people are going to be talking about this. Your average conservative pundits, they kind of gloss over foreign policy, and I'm not huge on foreign policy, but this is a big one, and we're going to talk about Trump bringing peace and prosperity, and this is one guy who is redefining American foreign policy. And what he did here with this deal in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, what he did here is something that will go down in the history books, is possibly one of the best, if not one of the best peace deals ever. This has been decades of fighting between Cambodia and Thailand. So we're going to be talking about Trump's peace through prosperity and how he struck a trade deal with some of these Southeast Asian countries. So we're going to get to that, but let's first get to the Trump derangement syndrome this morning. Somebody ought to check on Eric Swalwell, make sure he has a glass of water with some ice in it, and he's hyperventilating. The ballroom. Trump's building a ballroom. Although, the Clintons, I'm pretty sure they made White House renovations. We talked about JFK making White House renovations. We talked about Teddy Roosevelt. We talked about him expanding that foyer. It was actually in the East Wing. He expanded it, and underneath the foyer was sort of an underground bunker for the First Lady. She had offices there. So, this isn't anything wild or out of the ordinary. But we've heard from Hillary Clinton. She goes, it's the people's house. It's not your house, Donald. She put out a post on X or whatever. Senator Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, has weighed in on the ballroom. And now we have Eric Swalwell. Okay. I guess they don't care about, and to me, especially if we're not paying for it. Barack Obama, again, like I said, in 2010, he made renovations to the tune of $376 million with taxpayer funds. This isn't going to be paid with taxpayer money. At the time, the media was practically giddy about Barack Obama making those renovations. I guess these people don't care that we need the space. Okay, bottom line, many presidents have done this in the past. Numerous renovations have been made to the White House complex. He wants to have more space so he can host more people. I think that is a good thing, especially when it's paid for with private donations. So they don't really care about the ballroom and the renovations. It's really not about that. It is about using this as an attack point, using this against President Donald Trump and distracting the American people from what Trump is actually doing and the work that he's done in Malaysia and some of these foreign policy deals that he's made. They want to distract you from all the good that he's doing by turning him into Orange Man Bad, tearing down your house with a wrecking ball. Okay, so I thought Hillary Clinton's response was annoying. She said, it's the people's house and he's destroying the people's house. Something to that effect on X. Okay, I thought that was annoying. But I didn't know it could get worse. Eric Swalwell, the Democrat from California, I guess he's challenging her with his entry here. He's entering the conversation about the ballroom. And he wants to make it a litmus test for 2028 Democrat candidates for president that they will pledge to tear down the ballroom. So take a look at this tweet. He puts this out there. He says, don't even think about running for the Democrat nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one. So he wants to make this like an ultimate, like, hey, you don't get the Democrat nomination if you don't pledge to tear this down, this ballroom down, which is going to already be paid for, probably built at that time, by that time in a few years with private dollars again. So Swalwell wants to see Democrats run on wrecking something that we got for free. I want to be clear about this. The taxpayers are getting these renovations for free, essentially. We're not paying for it. It's private donors. And he wants to see the Democrat Party truly run on wrecking this thing. Even the Washington Post editorial board, even Biden and Obama officials have acknowledged privately that this renovation was needed and that the space was needed for the ballroom. Okay, so to Eric Swalwell, I say, please require that of the Democratic presidential candidates. Just like you guys required or had the 2020 Democrat presidential candidates answer this question. Do you guys remember? All of them were up there, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and you'll see Eric Swalwell up there as well. In the 2020 Democrat presidential debates, okay, they were all up there and they raised their hands to acknowledge that their government plans, healthcare plans, would include healthcare for illegal immigrants. Just in case you forgot, I've got the clip here. I would love to see MSNBC moderators ask, hey, would you be willing to knock down the Trump Ballroom, when elected on day one? I hope they asked that question, just like they asked this question, and it destroyed Kamala, Joe Biden, all of these Democrats' chances of really being in politics ever again. This is an 80-20 issue. Taxpayers don't want to fund healthcare for illegal aliens. Take a listen to this. Here we go.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
All of them.
Okay.
Who's that guy on the right?
If your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
All the way over there on the right. Eric Swalwell, there he is in the orange tie. Oh boy. Yes, please do it. Because if they asked this question, hey, would you knock down the Trump Ballroom? That is for sure going to come back to haunt them. Just like the 2020 debate, that question came back to haunt them. What do they want to do? Really, with this ballroom thing? Do they want to spend taxpayer dollars on it? What do they want? They want to wreck it at this point once it's built. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They are all about destroying. I thought that they said, destroying the White House at all would be bad. Isn't that evil according to their rules? He's not destroying the White House. It's going to be rebuilt. The East Wing there where they're doing the ballroom, the renovations, it's going to get ugly before it gets pretty. That's kind of how construction works. If they weren't hanging out with their oat milk matcha latte sipping elitists, they'd probably know that, hey, construction, it kind of looks messy before it gets pretty. It's kind of how it works. But here they are saying that destroying any part of the White House is evil. Okay, but here's Eric Swalwell saying that we should destroy it once it's fully built. And yeah. So they are completely lost. And they should focus on things like the Schumer shutdown, right? They should devote all of their energies to that. And like I said, I thought these guys were against demolishing anything at the White House. Then all of a sudden, here's Representative Eric Swalwell. He kind of changed his tune because, of course, he got all kinds of backlash for that, calling for Democrat 2028 presidential candidates to kind of pledge that they would demolish the Trump Ballroom. He kind of backtracks and he backs that up and he's like, whoa. Actually, I meant do as Ruben proposes. Ruben Gallego proposes. He wants to rename the ballroom Barack Obama Ballroom, but a Trump monument to corruption should not stand. Okay. So all over the place here. So all of a sudden he doesn't want it demolished, but now he wants it to be named after Barack Obama. I thought the ballroom was an abomination and you wanted it ripped down to the point that you said that you shouldn't be a Democrat nominee in 2028 if you're not willing to tear it down on day one. It's such an abomination that you want it torn down right away. But now you want Barack Obama's name on it. Which is it? Putting Barack Obama's name on it, does it automatically stop it from being an abomination? Oh, getting people to donate to the U.S., the United States, and getting people to donate to the renovations of the White House, I guess, equals corruption. That makes no sense. Nobody's provided any evidence to suggest that Donald Trump is doing a pay-to-play kind of deal. Hey, if you donate to my ballroom renovation, then you get this government contract. Nobody's been able to prove any of that exists. But they're all right. These same people, Eric Swalwell, by the way, he's fine with spending billions. I think it was 200 something billion dollars on Ukraine and looking out for their interests, and that's okay. But if the taxpayers kind of get a break here and get a ballroom for free, that's not okay. Like, can I say it louder? The Democrats have lost their effing minds. They have lost their minds. All right, let's talk about BBC and this interview that Kamala Harris did, because it was rough for Kamala Harris. They nailed her, and I did not expect that from BBC. BBC is a very liberal, non-American media outlet, but Laura Kunisberg, I don't know. She's a BBC interviewer, okay, and she interviews Kamala Harris, and this interview is not just a window into how bad Kamala Harris was as a candidate. Okay, we will definitely see just how bad she was as a candidate, but we're also going to see that the American media never did their job. They never asked Kamala Harris during the Biden administration, during 2020 to 2024. Nobody ever asked her the important question, hey, Joe Biden's cognitive decline, what do you have to say about that? Have you had a conversation with him? And the liberal media here in America haven't done their jobs. I'm shocked that this BBC reporter is doing her job. So Laura got Kamala Harris to drop some hints that she might potentially run in the future, and nailed her. It really obliterated her on her chances, and talked about how bad her chances were. Now, there have been polls out there. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his name is in the polls here. He has a better chance at winning the 2028 presidential candidacy than Kamala Harris does. Okay. She's behind The Rock in the betting odds. Okay. So I want to share a little tidbit from the BBC interview. Here we go. Take a listen.
In terms then of what is next for you, you write very powerfully about the differences that many women have made to your life, whether that was your meeting with Angela Merkel, or the experience of growing up with your extraordinary mother, or the stories of your baby nieces, Amara and Leela. When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you?
Possibly.
Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done. I have lived my entire career a life of service, and it's in my bones. And there are many ways to serve. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I am doing right now.
But you've been very clear that it's a possibility you might run again to become president. And in my experience interviewing politicians, when someone says I'm not done, it means they are thinking seriously about running. But when you look at the bookies' odds, they put you as an outsider, even behind Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, is that underestimating you?
I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would have not run for my first office or my second office, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview.
Oh boy. Mark, good morning. I appreciate you being here. This is beautiful about the ballroom. We had talked about that a little bit earlier. Create controversy, fake outrage, and send a fundraising email. Yeah, faux outrage, send fundraising emails. That's what this is all about, Mark. I appreciate you being here this morning. If you're not already subscribed, do it right now, folks. Hit that like button and head on over to patriotpumpenergy.com. Get your bottle of premium pre-workout today. This is our fruit punch flavor. Has 150 milligrams of caffeine, 200, actually no, excuse me, way more creatine than I had thought. 2,500 milligrams of creatine. Good stuff for you. We pair the caffeine with a black pepper extract. Black pepper extract, fun fact, keeps your focus, keeps that caffeine working for you all day long. And you won't get this crazy sugar crash that a lot of energy drinks give you. So go get it and use the promo code, because that's the best promo code out there, Conservative Cat, at checkout. You get $10 off. So this BBC interviewer, she's hilarious. She goes, "You're behind Dwayne The Rock Johnson here, okay, in some of these polls." And I don't think BBC could have been more blunt here. They were more blunt with her here than the American media has ever been with Kamala Harris. And she dismissed, of course, you heard Kamala Harris dismissed any kind of concerns about her chances if she were to run again. She goes, quote, this is what Kamala Harris said: "If I listened to the polls, I wouldn't have run for my first office, my second office, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here," she told the BBC. Look, the bottom line is reality. Kamala Harris doesn't live in reality. She was rejected big time in 2020. She was installed in 2024 after Joe Biden dropped out of the race. And then she was subsequently crushed by President Donald Trump, okay, who won the popular vote, won all of the swing states. And Laura here, the BBC reporter, she dared to ask Kamala Harris the question. So what is the question? The question is about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. The American liberal media never asked Kamala Harris this in all of her term as vice president. So Laura, she talked about Joe Biden's issues and said that he was sort of suspected to be cognitively not there. Around the world, the speculation was not just here in America. I mean, other countries had suspected that Joe Biden was not well. There was months of speculation surrounding Joe Biden's health, and they had asked Nancy Pelosi, BBC, what was going on, and everybody denied this, that Joe Biden was fragile, that he was weak. And Harris, she says in this interview that she didn't have a conversation with Joe Biden about his either mental health or physical health. She never, as the vice president, had a conversation with him or didn't raise the concerns with him about his physical or mental health or his cognitive decline. And that was all in Kamala Harris's book. And she was asked about it again in this BBC, or she was asked about it for the first time, really, I think, in her BBC interview, because nobody really talks to Kamala Harris about her role in his cognitive decline cover-up. Did she have a conversation with him prior to being installed in 2024 after Joe Biden announced that he was going to run again? Was there a conversation that took place? Kamala Harris's response here is just awful, just terrible. Take a listen. Here we go.
And you write that President Biden didn't raise his frailty with you, and you write that you didn't really raise it with him. That's extraordinary to read in your account.
Well, let's be more precise. There is a very serious difference between capacity to be president of the United States and the capacity to run for president of the United States. And so it is on that latter piece that I talk about in the book, about my concern about his ability with the level of endurance, energy that it requires, especially running against now the current president.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
So that is what I speak of in the book. And you rightly point out that I, in reflection, realize that, I ask, was it on my behalf grace or recklessness to not raise the point with him about whether it was right for him to run? But let's be clear, my question was never about his capacity to be president.
But isn't it a strange message to the public to say, you know what, you need to be tougher and more able to run a political campaign than actually to be the person behind the desk in the Oval Office, to be the person making decisions in the Situation Room. So did you just not think it was that bad, or did you feel you just couldn't raise it?
I was concerned about his ability to run for re-election, given what the campaign would require, and requires of any individual, regardless of their age, and to run while being the sitting president of the United States with all of the responsibilities that that requires.
There's a lot of very well-respected reporting now in the United States that uses phrases like cover-up, that talks about widespread concerns. And you yourself say in the book, it shouldn't have been a choice for an individual's ego.
I do reflect on whether I should have had a conversation with him, urging him not to run for re-election because of what that would require, and given the stakes, most importantly. Because, as you know, I predicted just about everything that has now happened since the election.
And we'll come to that.
And so my concern, and especially on reflection, is should I have actually raised it? But as I've also written, part of the issue there was that it would it have actually been an effective and productive conversation, given what would otherwise appear to be my self-interest.
Okay. So let's break this down. In the beginning there, she talks about how there's a serious difference between the capacity to be president of the United States and the capacity to run for the president of the United States, and that her concern was about his ability with the level of endurance required, the energy that it requires to run as president, okay, against President Donald Trump. So that was her concern. She never questioned Joe Biden's ability or capacity to occupy the highest position in the land. Okay. What? Oh, you're kidding me, right? You're actually kidding me, because actually doing the job is more involved than running for it, I would imagine, right? Look at what President Donald Trump, and we're going to get to it here a little bit later. Look at what President Donald Trump has been doing in the Southeast Asia with Malaysia, these trade deals, not to mention everything he's done in the past several months, the peace deal between Gaza and Israel. Okay, he has hit the ground running, and this guy has not stopped. Oh, he's even doing cute little pet projects like the ballroom. Okay, so her answer does not make sense. It in no way takes more energy to run for the presidency than to actually do the job of the president. This is the highest position in all of the land. Okay, probably highest position in the world. Her answer doesn't make sense. Unless it was easier for Joe Biden because people are running things behind the scenes for Joe Biden at the White House. And the fact that she says this kind of reveals that she doesn't grasp the gravity or the requirements, like the requirements of the office for which she is going to potentially run for in the future. She hinted that she might run for it in the future, but she ran for it in 2024. She never really grasped the requirements and the gravity of this position. This is the highest position in all of the land. Look at what President Donald Trump has done. He's brokered peace between Cambodia and Thailand. We're going to get to that today, but also Israel, Gaza most recently. And unless she wants to tell us more about what was going on at the White House when Joe Biden was president and what people were doing for Joe Biden to make that easier running the presidency, then it's easier apparently than running for the presidency. It just doesn't make sense. I hope that maybe someday she tells us a little bit more about what was going on at the White House and what people did for Joe Biden to make it easier. I don't think she'll ever tell us about that. But Lauren Kuensberg, she's the BBC reporter, she nailed her on it. She didn't let her come up for air. Okay. She says, okay, I think it's a strange message to the public to say, you know what? You need to be tougher and more able to run for a political campaign than actually be the person behind the desk in the Oval Office, to be the person making decisions in the Situation Room. So did you not think it was that bad, his cognitive decline? Or did you feel like you couldn't raise the question to Joe Biden yourself about his cognitive decline, about his physical decline? Exactly. I mean, that was a non-answer. The BBC reporter, shut it down really quick. I think it's a strange message to the public to suggest that running for this office is harder somehow than actually being in that office. And behind the desk, in the Oval, in the Situation Room, brokering these trade deals, dealing with foreign policies and foreign wars as the commander-in-chief. I think that's a strange message to the public. They're not going to buy that, so I'm not going to let you up for air. What was it not that bad to where you didn't want to ask Joe about his cognitive decline? Or did you feel like you were not in the position to raise that question? And again, Harris's answer was simply empty. She continued to say that she was concerned about Joe Biden running for office, that she wasn't concerned about him being the current president. And, she said she does reflect on how she should have maybe had a conversation with Joe Biden about this, about running, and what it required and if he'd be able to do it, because she didn't have a conversation with him about any of it. Okay. And she talks about that in her book. But, she says, I don't think it would have been an effective, productive conversation, given that, it would appear as if she had like self-interest, her being the vice president, her going after his job essentially in 2024, that wouldn't have been an effective or productive conversation. Likely it wouldn't have been an effective and productive conversation because Joe Biden doesn't know who he is. Okay. So I'm just going to be honest with you. That's probably why it wouldn't be effective and productive. Not that, you have this appearance or self-interest, but this is why, and I'm just going to say it, I don't think that there should ever be a female president, because I can see where a woman would say something like that. She says, I didn't want to appear as if I had my own self-interest in mind when opening up and having an honest conversation with him about his cognitive decline. I don't know how effective or productive I would be, because I have an appearance of self. Well, of course, if you have a conversation with him about you running for president, you're the vice president. If you have a conversation with him about his ability to lead in that current role, I mean, yeah, it goes without saying you have a self-interest, but a man wouldn't even think about that. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think a man would even give would not even think about his self-interest and the appearance of his self-interest, if that makes sense. Because really it's about truth and getting the job done. Do you truly believe that you can do this job? And right there, she tells us what she really thinks about herself. She doesn't think that she's capable of doing the job, because she'd put that appearance of self-interest and offending Joe Biden aside. And she would say, hey, I want to have an honest conversation about your cognitive abilities, about your physical health, and whether you can run for the job in the future, whether you can do the job now. Okay. And if she was bull in China shop, Donald Trump would be like, hey, I don't think you're capable of doing the job. I can do it better. And not really give a damn about offending anybody or having this appearance of self-interest. What is in the best interest of the American people? Can I do the job, and would I do it better than you? Is what somebody in her shoes should have been asking. And yeah, she's just not, and I don't think any woman, it's just the way we're kind of hardwired. You think about that stuff like, oh, what is he going to think about me if I bring up this honest conversation about his cognitive decline, his physical health? What is he going to think? Is he going to think that I'm, just having this conversation for my own self-interest? Well, I'm not going to have it because I don't want to ruffle any feathers or offend anybody. Okay. And that is not a quality I would imagine most American people want in their president. Somebody who second guesses themselves and worries about people's feelings. Okay. So making hard decisions, pushing things, having the tough conversations. That is what the job entails. And Kamala Harris just said it out loud. She didn't even want to have a tough conversation with, Joe Biden, whom she, liked or, trusted. They were vice president and president. Okay. She wasn't even willing to have a tough conversation with a guy that she had some sort of relationship with. So Trump is doing it every day. He's having tough conversations. He's pushing deals through, despite them maybe being a little controversial. Kamala Harris can't even put a basic question in front of her president when she's the vice president. Okay. And she thinks that she's not done yet. Okay. And that she might run for the presidency in the future. Why would anybody vote for her when she doesn't seem to have basic tools for the job? You're more worried about feelings and your appearance, and you're not willing to have tough conversations with people. You don't have the basic tools and the skill set for the job. And I don't think most women would, to be quite frank. So I also think that this reveals something, that Joe Biden didn't trust her and didn't trust anything that came from her. And he wouldn't have really respected her enough to have a conversation with her about the seriousness of his cognitive decline or his ability to run the country. The vice president should be able to have that conversation with the president out of the interests of the American people. But she knew that Joe Biden didn't really respect her or trust her. And it's probably because she knew she was a diversity hire. She knew she was only there because she appears to be darker complected or African American, if you will. Right. I mean, she knew deep down in her gut that she wasn't the one to be asking that basic question of Joe Biden, because she wasn't qualified to do it. She wasn't trusted. She wasn't respected. Okay, that's ultimately why she didn't ask that question. She knew deep down in her gut that she didn't have the trust or respect from Joe Biden to have that conversation with him. Okay. All right. So I want to get to this now. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate it. She's the queen of word salad. Yep, that is Kamala Harris if she were president and I was a leader of another country. I wouldn't even answer the phone if she called. Yeah, she's not respected. Okay. And I don't think it's just because she's female or because she's a black woman, which is what they will say. I truly believe it's just because she doesn't have the personality. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think of women in politics. There are plenty of women who would gain my respect because they are tough and they go after and they are just straight with you. Okay. It's hard to find women like that in politics because it goes against their very biology and their natural order of things. It's just hardwired in your brain to care about people's feelings. It's called nurturing. It's designed for childbirth and children. Okay. To have that nurturing and, hey, what do they think of me? I want to think about their feelings and I don't want to hurt their feelings. Okay. So it's kind of hard to find that in women just in general. But there are some women out there who would have my respect and can tell it like it is and just be straight with me and give me the facts and have an honest conversation, a tough conversation. Kamala Harris is not that type of woman, and that's okay. Okay. She's trying to be she's trying to be something she's not. And it's very clear that she's inauthentic and she's parading around in pantsuits like it's a costume. Okay. Just stop. So let's get to this. This is foreign policy. I don't do a lot of foreign policy on the show. A lot of conservative pundits don't. They stay away from foreign policy. It gets a little complicated, confusing for listeners, but this is really important stuff because today's show, it's one of those rare moments in history where I get goosebumps even talking about it because it makes you stop and realize that we are living through something truly monumental. And this is Donald Trump's deal he brokered. It's the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords. Okay. And this is ending decades of hostility between Thailand and Cambodia. Okay. So Donald Trump brokered this deal, the peace accords, and he's not stopping there. Okay. Not only did he bring about peace, but he's going to bring about prosperity because he secured trade deals worth billions. He's expanding the U.S.'s defense cooperation. He's restoring diplomatic relations. He's deepening America's partnerships with across Southeast Asia. Okay, so we're going to dig into this. It wasn't just a photo op. This was foreign policy masterclass. And this is a reminder that America is the world's leading force for peace when our leadership actually believes in America. Okay, when we actually believe in America, we are the world's leading force for peace. And I'm going to talk about this deal, but smash that like button. I'm going to take a quick break. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be right back.
Check your blind spots. Men love to call things out. Weakness, hypocrisy, failure. We're wired to spot threats and take action. But Jesus didn't say, never judge. He said, judge not, that you be not judged. Why? Because judgment without humility is a trap. It turns you into a sniper with a log jammed in your eye. Matthew 7 hits hard. Jesus calls out a man who sees a speck in his brother's eye, but ignores the plank in his own. He's not saying, don't correct. He's saying, clean your lens first. Self-examination before confrontation. It takes guts to get real with your own sin, to admit you've gone soft, to face your pride, lust, laziness, or bitterness head on. But that's what real men do. They sharpen themselves before they sharpen others. Jesus didn't just want behavior police. He wanted heart warriors. Men who get the plank out, then humbly help a brother see clearly. Men who don't just flex spiritual authority, but walk with spiritual maturity. In verse 6, it's about discernment. Don't toss holy things to pigs. Don't waste truth on ears that mock it. Know when to speak. Know when to walk away. Before you blast through your next workout, check your form. Same with life. Patriot Pump fuels clean, focused energy, but you've still got to show up. Power with purpose. Clarity with strength. That's how you train. That's how you lead.
Hey, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this out to your friends. So President Donald Trump, he brokered peace and he ended decades of hostility between Thailand and Cambodia. Okay. And like I said, he secured all kinds of trade deals worth billions of dollars. It wasn't just a photo op. This was a foreign policy masterclass. So let's start unpacking something here that most politicians and TV talking heads never explain. What foreign policy actually is. Okay, foreign policy isn't about treaties or fancy dinners. This is how a nation protects its people, advances its interests, and projects its values beyond its own borders. Okay, that is what foreign policy is. Okay, and there are two basic schools of thought when it comes to U.S. foreign policy. Number one, globalism. We are anti-globalism, you and I, listener of the Conservative Cat Show, viewer of the Conservative Cat Show. globalism is the idea that America should be a citizen of the world, bending our economy and our military to global institutions like the United Nations, like the World Economic Forum, the Paris Climate Agreement, you name it. This is Obama's choice of foreign policy. This is Joe Biden's choice of foreign policy. This is George Bush, his choice of foreign policy, okay? It's interventionism dressed up as in humanitarian language, okay? So globalism, what it does, it gives away American leverage to foreign bureaucrats who don't share our values. And it gets us into endless wars, one-sided trade deals, and it slowly bleeds national sovereignty. It's a slow bleed of national sovereignty, and sovereignty is biblical. You as a Christian should believe in national sovereignty. Globalism, it essentially outsources national sovereignty to people who don't have our same interest, the interest of the American people. We're talking about the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, these global institutions. And there's two schools of thought, like I said, globalism, and then there's America First policy, okay? And this is what Trump believes in. This is what he was elected to do. That every decision abroad must serve the American worker, the American soldier, and the American family first. That is America First foreign policy. Not because we're selfish, but because peace and prosperity starts at home. And when America is strong, confident, and moral, the world benefits. Okay, so when America is weak, divided, and apologetic, that's where evil starts to expand. A powerful America means a powerful world. There are two schools of thought when it comes to foreign policy: globalism and America First. Okay, so what did Trump do in Malaysia exactly? He brokered a peace deal, and this was just a day ago. Like I said, this guy never stops. He just did a peace deal with Hamas and Israel. He just brokered another peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia, and he ended what I would call a long-standing border tension. Okay, and it's been flaring up since the 1950s. For context, these two countries have had multiple, it's kind of like small scale wars, I would say, over their border and where the line should be. In 2011, there were artillery exchanges that killed civilians and displaced thousands. Okay, and what has been the U.S.'s position up to this point? Really silence. You know, decades of managing the conflict. Well, let's manage the conflict here, Cambodia. Okay, that's code for let's send both sides taxpayer dollars, humanitarian aid, military equipment. Let's send both sides and just keep the conflict going while we get rich. Okay, that's managing the conflict. Okay, writing reports, and then ultimately letting China swoop in and play mediator. So what did Trump do with this deal between Thailand and Cambodia just yesterday? I think it was yesterday, just in recent days here. He flipped the script. He said, let's bring the leaders to the table, the prime ministers of Thailand and Cambodia, together under U.S. and Malaysian mediation. Okay, so he worked with Malaysia on this peace deal. He said, let's end it now. Because for a long time, China has kind of tried to step in as the mediator. And that's what they did. Malaysia and the U.S., we worked together and they signed the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords, is what it's called. And they have committed to establish border observer teams and release prisoners. Okay, so 18 Cambodian soldiers are going to be released. They were held in Thailand. They are now going home. Okay, so it might sound like a small story, but this is enormous. Okay, because it means families are being reunited. It means trade routes are being opened. Two nations step out of China's shadow, which is the big part here, where China is no longer the mediator in between these two countries, but rather we are, and they're stepping out from underneath China's thumb and out of China's shadow, and they've embraced peace under American brokered diplomacy. And that is a huge deal, and China is not going to be happy about that. But this is what foreign policy with heart, brains, and leverage looks like. So imagine that a president, Donald Trump, who stops wars, just stopped one, Israel, Hamas, and he's not starting them. I know Lindsey Graham, they're probably all pissed off and they're going to have withdrawal symptoms. They're like, oh no, no more war. We're not going to manage the conflict anymore by sending all kinds of taxpayer dollars to both sides. Now, I do want to move to the economic side. So there's a lot that happened in the Southeast Asia this weekend. Okay, so there was the peace deal. So he stopped the fighting between Thailand and Cambodia. We're releasing those Cambodian soldiers, or we're kind of facilitating that by having people on the ground there, border overseer teams to make sure that release goes smoothly. And now I want to talk about the trade deals, okay, because the economic side of this. So there's the peace side, the war over. This has been going on for decades, since the 1950s, this little border dispute, and China's kind of been the mediator here. Now we're going to move on to the economic side, because Trump doesn't just talk peace, he builds that peace on mutual prosperity. And that's kind of his MO, is, hey, how can everybody make money? Okay, like that's how he builds peace. So the world's conflicts really stem from one thing, and this is what globalism is all about: dependency, which is why I'm anti-globalism, being a foreign policy approach, relying on these bureaucracies. When a country depends on a bad actor, say China or Russia, for example, Germany, depending on Russia for a lot of their energy, not good. They have transitioned to green weenie energy stuff, and now they're really reliant on Russia for their energy and for their gas. I mean, essentially, Russia is a big gas station for food, fuel, and resources. And you have these countries all over the world, and the conflict really stems from one thing: it's dependency, because they have to give up their freedom in exchange for the food, the fuel, and the resources from a bad actor like China or Russia. Okay, so Trump's trade deals, they actually cut those countries loose. So in exchange for mediation, which, by the way, China wasn't doing a great job, obviously, at it, because they were at war for decades, Cambodia and Thailand. Since the 1950s, they weren't doing a great job at mediating that conflict. Okay. But in exchange, their thumb was on both these countries, and they're the ones who are providing the food, the fuel, the resources to these countries. And Trump's trade deal, he cuts them loose of their chains and gives them their freedom back, these countries. Okay. In Malaysia, what Trump did, he signed what's called a reciprocal trade deal, meaning both sides benefit equally. Okay, so Malaysia, they are going to eliminate or reduce tariffs on nearly all of U.S. exports. Okay, so they're going to stop discriminating against American-made vehicles. So what was going on? Malaysia, under the control of China, probably in exchange for some resources, they discriminated against American-made vehicles under the guise of climate, right? Oh, well, your vehicles emit too much CO2, and we're not going to allow them to come in without a really high tariff. Okay, that trade deal wasn't fair, and it was probably facilitated by China, so that way they could beat us in exports when it comes to cars. American-made vehicles, we're losing because they're constantly being discriminated against, these countries that are really just under the control of China. So they'll recognize U.S. safety and agricultural standards, and a lot of these countries didn't recognize them prior, and they had really high tariffs on all of our exports. Now, this is called fair trade, this deal that Donald Trump struck. Not free trade, okay, that ships jobs to Asia, but fair trade that ships American goods abroad. Okay, like I said, China, they want the stranglehold here on exporting everything. Everything is made in China, made in China. I'm sure, like right here, my mouse from my computer right here, it says made in China. Okay, they make everything, and they want really a monopoly on it. They want to control the trade space. And how do they do that? They offer things like maybe even mediation between Thailand and Cambodia. And in exchange, what you guys are going to do is put tariffs on America. Okay. And you're not going to let them export into here for cheap. Okay. And you're going to come up with some BS reasoning about why you don't want their American made cars, that they're not safe or they emit too much carbon, whatever. So that was with Malaysia. They're going to eliminate and reduce nearly all tariffs on U.S. exports. And they're going to stop discriminating. This is the key here, against American-made vehicles. Okay, now let's move on to Cambodia. Trump went even further and made a zero tariff agreement. That's right, zero tariffs on all U.S. goods, agriculture, food, all of it going to Cambodia, zero tariffs. Now, the bigger picture here is that every time an Asian nation signs a fair trade deal with the U.S., it moves, like I said, from China's economic grip. So these trade deals are really just hurting China, okay, because we're working with these countries instead of China kind of forcing these countries to treat us badly, okay, because their hands are tied. They have to give up their freedom. They have to give up this fair trade deal with the U.S. Because China, this bad actor, is providing fuel and resources and food to these, underprivileged countries. Let's just call them underprivileged countries. And it's like pulling bricks out of the Great Wall of communist control. That's what we're doing here with signing these trade deals with these Asian nations. And it's so monumental. I'm like getting goosebumps because I'm so excited. And this is exactly what I voted for. Trump laid out frameworks for future deals with Thailand and Vietnam, each expected to cut tariffs on 99% of U.S. products. Okay, so we got Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam. Okay, that means, here's what all this means. American farmers, engineers, small businesses, they're going to get access to the 600 million or so consumers in this region, in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations region, okay, without having to bow down to Chinese Communist Party. Okay, we are going to get access, and we've kind of cut China out of these trade deals. They don't have any say anymore. Okay, so the foreign policy is working for your paycheck. It's American first. Okay, America first. And I think it's fascinating because China or CNN told us that Donald Trump was going to start World War III. It seems like he's brokering peace everywhere, though. So here's the Malaysia under these agreements. Malaysia is buying $3.4 billion a year in U.S. natural gas. So like I said, the U.S. is not a bad actor. We're really kind to our partners. The bad actors are your Russia and your Asia, or in your China. Okay. And what they'll do is say that you can't work with anybody else because we want a stronghold, an economic stronghold, and we want to be the people who make everything and export everything. We want control and power. So you control the supply chain, you control how goods are exported and imported into countries. You control the world. Okay, so world dominance is what China wants. But we're moving away from that in these agreements. So, like I said, $3.4 billion a year in natural gas, in U.S. natural gas. That is what Malaysia is buying. They're also buying $42 million in U.S. coal. Okay, and we're different from China because we're not going to say, "Oh, you can't work with anybody else," and we're not seeking world dominance. Okay, we're just trying to get fair trade deals for everybody, where everybody comes out ahead. Everybody's making money. Okay, they're going to buy 42 million in U.S. coal. They're also purchasing 30 Boeing aircraft with the option of buying 30 more. They're also ordering $150 billion in semiconductors, aerospace, and data center components right here in America, which I'm really excited about the data centers. I mean, I'm not super pro AI, artificial intelligence, these data centers that are popping up. And notice how the Democrats have kind of made these data centers the boogeyman. They have said like, oh, the data centers are the reason why your electric bill is going up. Actually, no, the reason why your electric bill is going up is because Governor J.B. Pritzker has transitioned us off of meaningful energy, meaning nuclear and coal. He's transitioned us off of that and got us on these cheap Chinese solar panels and windmills. And he's taken the grid and just screwed it all up. And it's more expensive because, like, hey, these energy companies actually have to, I don't know, provide energy. And they're kind of like working with like quicksand here. They're like trying to, create energy when they don't have any, because the infrastructure, they changed it all to wind and solar, things that don't work. So these energy companies are kind of forced to raise your electric bill to actually provide you the service because they have to provide you energy. Okay. And they got to figure out how to do that when working with like quicksand, the wind and the solar. Okay. Now, the Democrats will make data centers into the boogeyman. And what Donald Trump is trying to do here with these data centers, China hasn't gotten a stranglehold on the data centers and AI quite yet. He wants to be a leader in that arena. Okay, which is why there's tax breaks going out. There's all kinds of deals being made where these countries are buying data center components from us because we want to dominate that space and not have China beat us at it. Okay. So, yeah, just a quick aside. I know a lot of people are anti-AI and they're freaked out by it, which I am not super pro AI either. And I wouldn't want a data center coming to my community. And my suggestion to those, I think there's one popping up in Essex somewhere, which is kind of my hometown. What I would suggest to you is fight that at a zoning level because there's zoning laws and they exist for a reason. This is heavy industrial type stuff. You can't put it in residential areas or areas zoned for commercial. My suggestion to you, if you want to fight these data centers, do it at a zoning level because data centers, good for America. Okay, they're going to be good for America in that we are going to beat China in it, and that is Donald Trump's goal, I think. Sorry, quick aside. Let's get back to the deal. Like I said, Malaysia, they are ordering $150 billion in semiconductors, aerospace, and data center components. And that's not just money, that's American labor. So this is where it's good. Data centers are popping up everywhere. That's a lot of jobs, a lot of money. Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Illinois. Okay. You're going to have Illinois Democrats fight this, I think, though, with the data centers because it's a push at the federal level to beat China at it. And, we're talking welders, machinists, and engineers, truckers, putting food on the table. And that's what these deals are all about. And the buying, I mean, the $150 billion in semiconductors, aerospace, and data center components, that's all jobs in order to provide those products to Malaysia. natural gas. They're buying $3.4 billion worth of that. They're buying $42 million worth of coal. They're buying Boeing aircraft engineers, right? This is all really good for America, and it enables people like engineers and machinists and welders and truckers to put food on the table for their families. And Trump's trade policy connects foreign diplomacy to American prosperity. Okay, we're diplomatic. We're not the bad actors that China is. We're not going to try to control these countries through these trade deals. Rather, we win, they win. Okay, it's a win-win-win. And he also, I talked about the economic part of this, but what he did here was signed a memorandum of understanding, a critical minerals deal. Okay, so meaning Malaysia is now going to partner with the U.S. And U.S. companies to mine, refine, and recycle the materials needed for modern technology. So this is a game changer, and this is where you really should get goosebumps about this policy, about this trade deal, because this breaks up China's monopoly on lithium, cobalt, and rare earths. Okay, to build things like solar panels, electric vehicles, and because this is what they have a monopoly on, and which is why we've chosen data centers. You know how I talk about JB picking winners and losers? Well, JB has a poor picker. He's not very good at it. Okay, he picks a lot of these green weenie things, foreign policy or foreign adversary backed things like Goshen, for example. Goshen has ties to the CCP. He gave them a 535 somewhere around there $1 million tax break. Okay, and he's picking not a company that serves the American people, but rather serves the interests of the CCP. There's actual ties to the CCP. This company has, Goshen, and they make EV batteries. Okay, now China, they have a stronghold, a monopoly on the lithium, the cobalt, and the rare earths, the stuff used to make our phones, cars, and batteries and things like that. They have a monopoly on it. Okay, and what Donald Trump is trying to do here with Malaysia and getting them in partnering with the U.S. to mine, because they've got it over there, these rare earth minerals, we're going to literally have industrial independence away from China if he does this with enough countries. I don't think that this deal with Malaysia is going to put us over, China as far as their monopoly on the lithium, cobalt, and rare earths. But it's, like I said, pulling bricks out of this wall, this great wall of communism, communist China. So Trump is literally rebuilding industrial independence. Meanwhile, you had Joe Biden selling green dependency to the highest bidder. So we are dependent on China for things like solar panels, windmills, and things like that under Joe Biden. Our electric vehicles, our batteries, everything coming from them. Trump is transitioning us away from green dependency to industrial independence, and we can make all of that stuff with our buddies in Malaysia now. We can mine all of that stuff, and we don't have to rely on China's lithium, cobalt, and rare earths, and we don't have to deal with an adversary who really is seeking world domination, like I said. So Joe Biden's trade team, they were worried about equity. Trump's team is worried about building equilibrium and really fair trade and not having one country dish it all out. And having one country control these little tiny Southeast Asian countries, and control every little aspect of their country and control their freedom. The U.S. is not a bad actor. We want everybody to have prosperity and make money. So let's talk about defense. So we've talked about the peace deal, Cambodia, Thailand. They were fighting for decades. He brokered peace. Then he's got all these economic deals going on. Now I want to talk about defense, because foreign policy isn't just about money and peace, but defense. It's about security and real deterrence to prevent war. Okay, and Lindsey Graham, the war hawks, they don't like this. They want there to be war. They want there to be no security, and they want there to be no prevention of war, where we're just managing the conflict rather than stopping the conflict and keeping it stopped. So what Trump did is what he did back in 2017. It's called the Angkor, Angkor Sentinel. This is a defense exercise, and it was paused in 2017. So he reopened military cooperation with Cambodia through this defense exercise, and he's lifting the arms embargo on Cambodia because new leadership there has shown a willingness to fight corruption and distance itself from China's shadow. Okay, so what we had to do was pause this defense exercise and kind of do a arms embargo on Cambodia because you can't trust them because they're working with China. But guess what? Through all these deals, they're going to be working with us now. They're going to be taking our products, and we've kind of gotten them out of the Chinese shadow. So we've lifted this arms embargo on Cambodia, and that's going to be huge because the new leadership there feels like they're trusted, okay, by the United States, and that's huge. Reopening this military cooperation with Cambodia through this defense exercise, paused since 2017. Reopening that, it shows that we're extending an olive branch. Right, that's really what he's doing here in Trump with the military cooperation and lifting the arms embargo. So that's not weakness. It shows that Trump rewards progress, not dependency. Okay, before you had Cambodia, who was just underneath the shadow of China, and they were so dependent on them for, like I said, food resources, fuel, and they, in exchange, gave up all of their freedoms, and they just do China's bidding. Okay, and that means high tariffs on the U.S. to where the U.S. can't be an exporter and all of these great things. That means not working with the U.S. in mining these rare earth minerals. But all of that's gone away, and through these deals that Trump has made, these economic deals, and Trump says, okay, well, because you have done this and you've stepped away from China and you're no longer dependent on them, you're working with us, I'm going to reward that, and we are going to defend you. We're going to work this out where you can have your arms back, and we are going to work this out together, and we're going to make sure that you're defended, and the massive military force that the U.S. Has is going to be a friend of yours. Okay. So he is also so much happened over the weekend. I mean, this is huge stuff. And I don't like talking foreign policy because a lot of people, their eyes glaze over, but let me know what you think in the comment section. Important stuff that we go over, right? And they're going to try to get you to focus on Trump and the ballroom and all that BS. I want you to focus on what's going on here with this foreign policy because this is huge. I've got goosebumps. This is exactly what I voted for. So, like I said, there's defense going on, lifting that embargo, kind of controversial. Do I trust Cambodia? I don't know. But Trump is rewarding the progress that's been made through these economic deals. Okay. Now, what else is he doing? He is doing a joint operation with Thailand to fight cybercrime, drug trafficking, and online scam centers that rob Americans of billions every single year. So when I say Thailand, it's kind of a trope, or people know that there's a lot of like scams that come out of some of these Southeast Asian regions, probably at the behest of China, if I had to guess. But they are going to work together to stop the drug trafficking. Okay, the drugs coming into the U.S. from Thailand. Okay, they're going to try to work together, Donald Trump and Thailand, to stop these scam centers where they're calling up and you get these scam calls and you're like, what the we want your social security number. And they scam billions out of Americans every single year. And Trump knows that this is a problem with these Southeast Asian countries. And he said, okay, before we work together, and we're doing great things here in Thailand, with the, and they haven't secured a reduction in tariffs quite yet on U.S. exports, but they've sort of promised it. We're doing great things as far as you reducing tariffs economically. I've brokered this peace deal between you and Cambodia. You guys can stop fighting now. But I want to take it a step further, and I really want you guys to work on your crime because Americans are affected by this, and we need to work on it together. And that's how you use diplomacy to defend your own citizens. Like, he is using foreign policy, diplomacy, and he's not dropping bombs. Okay. Like, there's those war hawks out there who, they scam billions, and that stupid country over there, Thailand, those Southeast Asian people, who cares about them? Let's just bomb the hell out of them. Right. And, you've got those people like Lindsey Graham, who want to fund both sides of these foreign wars. Because they're rich, the military industrial complex. That's why they truly want to do it. But he is cutting off the funding of these evil networks. If he says, hey, like, jointly, we're going to work on cutting off, the drug trafficking, the funding that comes from that, the funding that comes from the online scams, the billions that you steal from Americans every single year. If we cut all that off, and we cut the funding off from this evil network, it's going to benefit your citizens, and we're going to, in exchange, provide things like defense. We're going to give you, a decent deal, decent price, things like semiconductors, data center components. We're going to work with you. So this is diplomacy defending our citizens, which is so exciting. And it's kind of the same doctrine that Ronald Reagan used: peace through strength. Okay, you build alliances through respect, not domination, which is totally a different vibe that we get from Donald Trump in the American media. They spin it like he is seeking world domination and that he's a dictator and Hitler, and that he's going to start World War III. But really what he's doing, and most Republicans, I'll say it, they want things like they could care less about Thailand. They're like, okay, let's bomb the hell out of them so that way we get rich. And let's not work with them, on combating drug trafficking or cyber crimes or scam centers. Let's not work with them on that. Let's just be the heavy and try to dominate Thailand and take over. You have people in the Republican Party like that. And Donald Trump isn't like that. And he's actually building alliances through respect. And now let's talk about peacemakers, okay? Because sometimes I think the world forgets what peace actually really is. Okay, it is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. What do I mean by that? Trump's foreign policy doesn't bow down to tyrants. It humbles them by making America a beacon again. Okay, so the foreign policy, it might not be, the war hawk way. It might not be the globalism way, but it is a way that makes it where we are prosperous, where we're exporting goods like crazy, and the engineers, the machinists, the truckers here in America, they're able to put food on the table for their families. And Matthew 5:9 says this. It says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Peace is a divine calling. Okay, and this is where I want to bring it home biblically. The true peacemaking comes from courage, and courage to say, screw you, war hawks, Lindsey Grahams, screw you, globalists, Barack Obama's, Joe Biden's, China, these people at the UN, the World Economic Forum. I'm not interested in what any of you guys have to say about foreign policy. I'm going to have the courage, and I'm going to do what's best for the American people, make sure they're putting food on their table for their families. I'm going to do it through diplomacy and these foreign policy trade deals. And this takes more faith to extend a hand. Okay, suspending or lifting the arms embargo on Cambodia, that's a real step out in faith, okay? And it takes more faith to do that and to extend a hand rather than fire a missile, okay? It takes more wisdom to negotiate rather than occupy. So what China does, they come in and they occupy these countries and they provide the fuel and the resources and the food for these countries, but they occupy and they take these people's freedoms. What we're doing is we're negotiating. We're saying, hey, we want you to be prosperous. We want you to make money and we want to make money. Let's come together and negotiate. And, it takes humility to protect others. The defense, putting those people on the ground and rewarding, the Cambodia, Thailand, rewarding them through our defense because they've cut ties with China as it pertains to the economic deals. Okay. It takes a lot of humility to say, hey, we're going to provide some military defense. We're not going to fund both sides of your war anymore. Okay. But what we are going to do is make sure that this Cambodian hostages, these 18 hostages that have been in Thailand, we're going to facilitate that and we're going to use our military to do that. That takes a lot of humility. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing humility, wisdom, we're seeing faith. And, Trump is showing us that the world, and he's really showing the world, he's showing us in the world that America can lead without losing its soul. Okay. And it's Christian strength. What I'm seeing in this foreign policy is Christian strength and righteousness. It is not being done recklessly as it has been in the past. So I want to wrap this up in just 1 week. Like just in this 1 week alone, Donald Trump has done what the globalists couldn't for 30 years. He's united rivals, Cambodia and Thailand. He's expanded trade. He's strengthened their defense. And above all else, he has restored faith in our American leadership because, the American people, they've been screwed. Your engineers, machinists, truckers, they've been screwed over because China's the one who's exporting everything and we're not making anything, no money. And this is the art of peace guided by the art of the deal. And he has reminded the world that America doesn't have to choose power and between power and principle. We can have both. Okay. We don't have to choose between it. We can have the power, but we can also do it in principle. And that's where we differ from China. We can have both if we remember who we are, because when America leads with faith, strength, and truth, the world listens. When we lead with confusion, corruption, cowardice, the world burns. So Joe Biden, while he was lost out there, between his naps and his note cards, we've got a president now who's making peace great again. And that's really exciting, folks. So we walked you through some of the foreign policy this morning. I hope your eyes didn't glaze over too much. I know when I talk foreign policy, people are like, I'm so tired of listening to foreign policy and I don't get it. I broke it down for you. There is extremely cool things going on. Monumental things, goosebump type things going on in Southeast Asia, and Trump is doing all of it. I like this one, Bob. I'll take some of your comments. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get to Secretary Sean Duffy because illegal immigrants, they've got CDLs. So he's not tolerating the nonsense anymore. I'm glad to hear it because I'm pretty sick and tired of the federal government kind of being asleep at the wheel of this thing. In regards to this thing, illegal immigrants getting CDLs, the trucking industry being plagued with bad actors. We're going to get to Sean Duffy because he's not tolerating the nonsense from California and Governor Gavin Newsom over this commercial driver's license to non-English speaking illegal aliens. we'll get to that. Bob, he says, bingo, men and women handle problems differently. Yes. We talked about Kamala Harris and how she just was like, I hate to say it, cojones-less, if you will. And really, I mean, she just lacked the courage to present Joe Biden the question, to raise this question. Hey, Joe, are you capable of running? Hey, Joe, are you capable of being president? And, I mean, I think it might speak to a larger issue where she didn't feel like Joe Biden trusted her, or she didn't feel respected by Joe Biden, probably because she knew deep down she was only there because of her perceived African Americanness, I guess. But at the real core of it, I think it's because she's a woman. She did not want to present that question to Joe Biden, because she was worried about feelings, and if she would come off as, hey, this is in my self-interest, or, this would be really good for me if you stepped out because of your cognitive decline or your physical decline. Like, it's a very woman-esque thing to do, which is to care about the feelings of others before you have tough conversations. And you might avoid those conversations altogether. And it comes from biology, right? Women don't want to be confrontational. Why? Because quite literally, they can't defend themselves as well physically if there's confrontation. Men just are better biologically. It's just an innate thing at getting into the room and making people uncomfortable and having tough conversations, making tough decisions. Look what Donald Trump did in Malaysia. You think those were easy conversations to have? No, not at all. These are countries that have discriminated against American-made cars. They have tariffed us. They have treated us like dog poo-poo because they're under the control of China. And Donald Trump didn't hold animosity in his heart, and that's why I say this is Christian foreign policy, because you'll get the Lindsey Grahams and the Warhawks saying, yeah, let's blow them all up. Let's keep the conflict going, and let's manage the conflict. Donald Trump came in and stopped it, and he didn't go in and say, like, and hold the animosity in his heart and revenge or anything like that. But he was tough. He said, look, we'll provide the defense, but you have to, start mining minerals with us over China. You have to step away from them. And that's what he did in these deals. And that takes guts and courage to really, talk with enemies and to get them all in a room together and do what you want. So, yeah, he wasn't worried about feelings, obviously. Because Trump's a man, and I am of the firm belief that there shouldn't be a woman president, because a lot of them, maybe you've got like Marjorie Taylor Greene might be an exception to that. And there's a lot of things that, if you are that type of woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm pretty sure like her personal life, she might have like a divorce or so under her belt. And, women who are like that, not very nurturing, don't really care about people's feelings, that's kind of like tough on them personally, because women are expected to be more nurturing, be more compassionate and caring about people's feelings. And when you're not, people are kind of like, whoa, this is strange. So yeah, firm belief that probably no woman president. I'm going to say that. I have yet to see one that could do what Donald Trump is capable of doing. And I just really think it comes from a deep, biological need to nurture and care about people's feelings. And that's why women shouldn't be president. Most of them. I have yet to see one that would act like a Donald Trump. In these negotiation rooms, making these foreign policy deals like he did this past week in Malaysia, the Southeast Asian region. All right. Sean Duffy. We're going to get to him. Smash that like button. I'm going to take a quick 50-second break. 50 seconds. That's it. I'll be right back. Hey, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. All right, I got the headphones on. Sometimes I just need to take a break, drink some water. Subscribe, and if you want to support the program, very easy way to do it. You guys can always send super chats. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm so grateful. I love you guys so much. I end the show every single day saying love you, and I mean that, brother, sister in Christ. But Patriot Pump Energy is a way to support the program. People have asked. It's a premium pre-workout. We do the promo code Conservative Cat, so it's not so expensive for you guys. Nobody else gets that promo code, just you guys. We're working on getting in some gyms, here locally in Illinois. But fruit punch flavor, this is a good one. It's got caffeine, black pepper extract, creatine, L-citrulline. Good stuff. Good stuff. It'll keep your focus all day long. The black pepper extract really squeezes every little bit of that caffeine out, and it makes the caffeine work for you rather than against you. That crash that you experience after a cup of coffee. Yeah, you won't get that with those. So get it today, or you guys can send super chats. That's always welcome, and subscribing. We want to get to 1,000 subs before Christmas. That was my goal once, I decided to break away from broadcast media and do it myself. YouTube platforms, I'm down with legacy media. I'm not really down with it. I think that this is a way to effectively communicate things and, not be constrained by government regulations or big tech. I'm on Rumble. I do YouTube. I like the YouTube listeners. I feel like there's a lot of untapped people. I'd love for you to go to Rumble and follow me there, just because who knows, after 1,000 subs, it kind of gets a little sketchy as far as censorship. I've had entire episodes taken down, especially when I talk about COVID. But I'm on Facebook, Twitter, or X. You guys can go follow me there. So between all the platforms, we're going to get you your news, and we'll provide you fresh commentary. The truth has claws here at the Conservative Cat Show. All right. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. We want to get to this before we end the show. He's not tolerating any more nonsense. He's done. And quite frankly, it's overdue to be critical of the Transportation Secretary. I think that this has been long overdue. And he needs to be serious about this, because this is not just a matter of illegal immigrants killing people on our roads. This is a matter of national security. We need to ensure that the trucking industry really is of American English-speaking people. There, I said it. I'm sick and tired of hearing things about these foreign countries coming in, having these trucking companies, and they're all skirting regulations. We need to ensure that all of these companies are abiding by regulations, hiring Americans, hiring people of English speaking, who are English speaking, and people who are literate, people who can read the road signs. We have all the laws on the books. We demand a pretty high quality truck driver here in the United States. But what we've got going on now are these foreign-owned trucking companies who think that they can skirt by all the rules, hire illegal aliens, or erase their electronic devices, logging devices where they're supposed to log their hours. They erase them to, really make their bottom line, right? And screw safety, screw the regulations, the federal regulations. I'm not going to abide by them because I want to make as much profit as possible. So there have been several high-profile accidents caused by these people who have never should have been allowed to be in the country or remain in the country. They're being hired by these trucking companies. And I hope that Sean Duffy realizes that it goes beyond Gavin Newsom and the CDLs and issuing the CDLs to the truck driver or to the illegal immigrants. Yes, we have to stop the government doing that, but I think that you'd have better luck shutting down these companies, getting them out of here and prosecuting these people at the tops of these companies, these executives at the tops of these foreign countries or foreign-owned companies. I think you'd have better luck with that, honestly, than fighting with Gavin Newsom. Getting these people in cuffs for not abiding by federal law or regulations. These companies should be held accountable just as much as Gavin Newsom, in my opinion. And I hope he does that. Sean Duffy, he was on with Maria on Fox News. Maria, I always meant Burrito Romo. I feel terrible. She's a great Fox News host. Bartolomeo, I always struggle with her name. But she was on with Sean Duffy, and he announced that California is going to kind of discover the or else, what the or else is. You better do this or else. Like I said, these people should not be in our country at all, much less behind a wheel of an 18-wheeler carrying tons, working in our supply chain. Like, it's a matter of national security. And maybe it goes beyond the Secretary, Sean Duffy. Maybe the DHS needs to get involved. Some of these foreign-owned companies setting up shop here in America and, skirting by all of our federal regulations. Maybe this is more of a national security issue, and the DHS has to get involved. Secretary of War. I don't know how deep this really goes and what the goal here is from these countries who buy trucking companies, set up shop here in America, and skirt everything and hire illegals. And but that's just the tip of the iceberg here. There is so much more that these companies do outside of hiring illegals that are wrong. We're talking insurance fraud. We're talking manipulating those electronic device logging, those devices where the truckers are supposed to put down how many hours they actually work. There's so much. And maybe it goes beyond Secretary Duffy. But let's take a listen. Bartolomeo, Maria, Fox News host. He was on with her. Take a listen.
Gavin Newsom has thumbed his nose at us. He's refused to comply with the rules that have come from DOT, which is stop issuing these licenses, number one. And number two, go back and review all the licenses that you have issued and make sure it's been done legally. Gavin Newsom has said no. So, one, I'm about to pull $160 million from California. And as we pull more money, we also have the option of pulling California's ability to issue commercial driver's licenses. Gavin Newsom cares more about illegals getting commercial driver's licenses than he does the citizens of his own state and the safety of Americans. It's shameful. He's been lying about what he's been doing. And again, we're gonna fight tooth and nail under President Trump's administration to make sure that we hold states like California accountable. Gavin Newsom has thumbed his nose at us. He's refused to comply.
Okay. So this is what Secretary Duffy said. Gavin Newsom has thumbed his nose at us. He's refused to comply with the rules that have come from DOT, which is to stop issuing these licenses, number one. Number two, go back and review all the licenses he has issued and make sure they were done legally. Gavin Newsom has said no. So I'm about ready to pull $160 million from California, and we're going to pull more money. We also have the option of pulling California's ability to issue these commercial driver's licenses. Yes to all of it. California is a bad guy in this situation, but like I already addressed, I think that you'd have much easier. You don't have to play politics. Just go after the trucking companies who are hiring these illegal aliens. Prosecute them for, I'm sure, multiple federal rules that they are breaking. If they're willing to hire illegal aliens, okay, they're probably breaking other rules that you can get them on. And shut these companies down. That's how I really think they should go about this. And that might not be a Department of Transportation thing, but yes, to yanking the $160 million in highway funds. That would hurt them. But the Democrats shouldn't dismiss this. Okay. They're going to say things like, oh, Sean Duffy, he's withholding federal transportation funding. What an evil guy. How dare he? The Democrats have been doing this for years, where they've withheld federal transportation funding. And they've done it to push things through, like seatbelt laws, 55 mile per hour speed limits, so they can't get all up in a squawk about this or all up in a tizzy, because they've been doing this for years, where they hold federal transportation funding to get states to pass things like seatbelt laws, to get states to pass, speed limit laws. So the revocation, the actual revoking of the state's authority to issue these CDLs, would hurt even more. And I think it's got more teeth to it than taking away federal transportation funds. Democrats, now Republican administration, they're just threatening the same kind of stuff until they actually do it, and that might hurt. I think it would hurt, but even more so, taking away California's ability to even issue CDLs would hurt more. And I would assume that local trucking companies would not want to stay in California if that's the case. Okay, it'll put a squeeze on them to try to find drivers. Doubly so if the revocation also applies to renewals. The people of California, and indeed the country, would be a lot safer if they do the revocation right now. It would definitely hurt California's trucking industry. You're going to have people just operating their trucking companies out of other states because the CDL process is tougher if California isn't the one doing it, right? Especially if that revocation also applies to renewals. You're just going to have local trucking companies. I don't think that they're going to remain in California. It will put a squeeze on them to find drivers. But I'm okay with that, because I'm sick and tired of people dying at the hands of illegal immigrants who have CDLs. Okay. I think that people are going to be a lot safer. And it seems like right now, Governor Gavin Newsom doesn't give a hoot about people being safe on the road, about families, like an entire family died at the hands of, what was his name? Singh. He was a 21-year-old guy. He was under the influence. And I think that there's a lot bigger picture here that Sean Duffy and the federal government are missing. They should be focused on shutting down some of these companies. And we should only have American companies doing trucking. Okay, period. Like American-owned companies. Not foreign-owned companies where they do business, in Serbia or Pakistan or wherever the hell they're based out of. They should not be touching our supply chain. Okay, this is a matter of national security, and I think that you got to get law enforcement involved here. I think that it's beyond just issuing CDLs and Gavin Newsom issuing CDLs to illegal immigrants. I think that this goes deeper, where you have foreign adversaries setting up shop here and trying to take over the American trucking industry. I truly believe that's what's going on. And they're getting ahead of most American trucking companies, and they're making more profit because they're skirting all of these regulations that are designed to help keep the roads safe. Gavin Newsom doesn't seem to be worried about the safety on the roads. And it's sad. Something needs to be done. I don't think you have to do the revocation. Like, at the end of the day, I'm happy about the revocation. I'm happy about the withdrawing the funding. Yes, yes, yes to all of it. But I think it's so much deeper than just California. I think that you've really got to look at these foreign-owned companies and shut them down. for hiring the illegals in the first place and getting them out of America. It should only be American-owned companies here in America doing the trucking. Okay, I think it's a matter of national security. So Secretary Duffy, he also talked about the Schumer shutdown and how it's going to affect air travel. And I want to make sure I get to that. Yeah, Hindus shouldn't drive. First time I'm seeing her live. Be sure to subscribe. If you're here at the Conservative Cat Show, subscribe to the channel. Yeah. There was another Singh. I think it might have also been that U-turn. Remember he took Singh U-turn, killed people, illegal. I forget their names, but I'm pretty sure it was a Florida U-turn. It was the turnpike. Yeah. Hajinder Singh. That happened. And it actually turned out that he failed his CDL test several times. 10 times. He's failed his driver's test 10 times. Okay. And he took one of those what do you call them? The emergency. It's only made for emergency vehicles, and he made a U-turn on the highway in a big old 18-wheeler. He wound up killing people. So Singh, he failed his test 10 times. Hajinder Singh. Now, most recently in California, you had this guy who was intoxicated. Jaranjeet Preet, I don't know, Singh. He was 21 years old, intoxicated, and he killed 3 people. So sad. And 3 people died in the Florida crash as well, with this Singh guy. Both their names were Singh. No Hindu should drive trucks. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that really the problem here are the foreign-owned trucking companies, and they have gained traction here in the United States, especially under the Biden administration. And I think we're really missing how to combat this. We need to shut down those companies who are hiring the illegals. Yeah, you're going to have Gavin Newsom and Governor J.B. Pritzker issuing the illegals driver's licenses and possibly CDLs. Okay, you're going to have Democrats being Democrats. You can't manage your expectations, Sean. That's what I would say. Democrats are going to do Democrat policies. What you need to do is play some 4D chess with them. Be 4 steps ahead and just shut down the companies that are hiring these people. And let's make it American trucking again. Okay, let's make trucking great again. And the way we do that is by not allowing foreign-owned companies. I think that would be an amazing executive order, maybe done at the top level, or at least policing these foreign-owned companies and making sure that they're compliant with all of the federal rules. Because there's one, obviously, hiring illegals, that's against federal law. But there's other federal rules that I think these companies are breaking in order to survive, or in order to get ahead of the American-owned companies. And what's happening are the American-owned companies are going out of business because it's not fair. You've got the bad actors who are skirting all of the rules, and they're making tons of profit. Meanwhile, you've got the people who are following the rules that are meant for our safety on the roadways, and they can't get ahead because the game is fixed. Because if they were to start skirting rules, then the feds would come down on that. So we need to make sure that people are following the rules, period. Okay, let's talk about the Schumer shutdown and the air travel, because Duffy talked with Maria about this as well. Take a listen.
If I don't feel like I have enough controllers or enough controllers that are focused, we will slow down traffic. We will stop traffic. And that's why you see the delays in the system. And the job number one is, again, get people to where they're going safely. And if it's not on time, well, call the Democrats. Call Chuck Schumer if you're frustrated that you have a staffing shortage and your flight's 3 hours delayed or your flight is canceled. Call Chuck, call Senate Democrats, because this is the reason why. If I don't feel like I have enough control.
Okay. So that's Sean Duffy in that segment. He said, if I don't feel like I have enough air traffic controllers or enough controllers that are focused, we will slow down traffic. We will stop traffic. That's why you see the delays in the system. So what's going on right now is that there's not enough controllers. They're not getting paid right now through the Schumer shutdown. And now you're starting to see delays. I'm still not worried. Okay. I don't think that we're close to the 35. What was it? 35 days is, I think, the longest the government's been shut down. I'm still not extremely worried. There's going to be delays. Obviously, you're not paying people to do the jobs, the government jobs. You're going to start seeing delays in the system. And here's what Sean Duffy says. The job, number one, is I can get people to where they're going safely. And if it's not on time, well, call the Democrats. Okay, so he's going to prioritize safety. And that's what we want, obviously. We want the Department of Transportation. We want safety, TSA, to do their damn jobs correctly. We want people there, but they don't have enough controllers right now because the government shut down, right? So call Chuck Schumer if you're frustrated. That's where the delays are coming from. If we have a staffing shortage and your flight is 3 hours delayed or your flight is canceled, call Chuck, call the Senate Democrats, because that's the reason why, because we don't have enough air traffic controllers to ensure people will get to their destination safely. And as the Schumer shutdown drags on, which likely it will for a good bit, it might extend into the holiday season. Okay. And about a month, we're going to be in the holiday season. That's where it starts, and millions of Americans are going to be, taking to the friendly skies, trying to get where they're going safely and on time. But the transportation secretary, he's saying, hey, expect delays because we're not going to have the amount of air traffic controllers and people that we need, TSA, to ensure that people are getting to their destination safely. So you will have delays or canceled flights, and that is Schumer's fault. So he is, Duffy is, putting California in their place. He's putting them on notice. He's putting the Senate Democrats on notice. And I'm glad we voted for this. And this is a positive step forward. Can more be done? Absolutely. I think more can be done. Like I said, I think it's a national security issue and we need to shut down those foreign companies. And nobody's really talking about that at federal level. It's disappointing. We're just fighting with Gavin Newsom, who hair gel is irrelevant. At this point, he's not even going to be governor next go around. He's termed out. So we're just fighting politics. Democrats are going to do Democrat things. They're going to want to issue illegal immigrants CDLs, under the guise of diversity or whatever, not discriminating against people because, they're non-English speaking. Let's start playing chess and let's be 2-3 moves ahead, and let's just start cutting, these or shutting these companies down and not allowing them to hire the illegal immigrants in the first place. There's a different way to go about it. I hope they do that. But in the meantime, I think you should do both. Go after Gavin Newsom in California, cut their funding. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing either with the CDLs. But we really need to be going after the companies, and nobody's really talked about that, going after the companies for doing the hiring in the first place. Whether that's DHS, border, customs, immigration, federal immigration authorities, cracking down on these employers, or, DOT ensuring that things like e-logs are abided by, e-log regs are abided by and being followed. And if they're not, then you shut down these companies and you say, hey, you can't run unless you're following federal regulations. Put these companies out of business, because there shouldn't be any foreign-owned companies doing trucking in America, period. And honestly, Trump might need to make an executive order saying that. Smash that like button. Share it out with your friends. We will be back tomorrow morning bright and early. Bye-bye. Love you so much. 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's the Daily Show, Monday through Friday. Sometimes we do Saturday shows. If you missed my last Saturday show, I highly recommend you go check it out. It's about Texans gaining their independence. It's a history bit where I talk about how the Dems and really revisionists, history revisionists, they have tried to paint Sanguine, who was a Tejano, they tried to paint him as a hero, but really he's a traitor. And if you missed it, you're going to want to go back, click on it, and subscribe. All right. Bye-bye. Love you so much.